Hello everybody, and today I'm recording video 14, right, of my YouTube series. And I know I haven't been recording in a while, so been busy a little bit in real life. So now I have a new topic, right, which I think is quite interesting. It's about why you must start your property investing journey early in life. I'm using a Malaysian context here. This is a video for Malaysia property. Part of it is financial advice for young people, and I think it's of course somewhat applicable to Singapore as well. But of course, Singapore has a different context, different system altogether. But I hope you enjoy this video, and let me start, okay, with a bit of an introduction on myself.
Director of Outbound Marketing at Ryan.
Speak in Malaysian. So my name is Ryan. Nama saya Ryan.
6,000 incoming supply in Johor. This is
I am writing thank you for attending today's presentation on Malaysia.
So my name is Ryan Khoo, and I am a Malaysian. I am a Singapore PR, and I'm currently in Singapore. Right, I've been in Singapore resident. I've been a Singapore resident since 2009, but I'm in out of Malaysia, Singapore for some time now. I am a property investor. I am a property agent. I do both, right? I'm a speaker. I wrote 2 books on Iskandar, Malaysia. I wrote many articles in the media in Singapore and Malaysia about real estate. Today I'm sharing my video number 14, right, which is about why you must start your property investing journey early in life, right? Now, today I'm taking a different approach. So, and this video is in a way targeted to people who are, especially who are young, right? Of course, if you're not young, it's okay. You can watch this video. You can maybe help a relative or a friend who is younger, or children, right? If you want to convince them why they must get into real estate early, right? So, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, this is in the Malaysian property context. Of course, it's applicable to Singapore also. But I think Singapore system is quite, by default, is quite clear because of the way HDB system works, right? The BTO HDB system works. But let me try and cover this from a Malaysian perspective, for Malaysian property as well, for those of you who are from Malaysia or who are Malaysian. Okay, so the most important reason why you need to start early is because of an effect called inflation, right? If you are not clear what inflation is the effect where prices go up over time. Okay, and you say, hey Ryan, why does this thing happen, right? Actually, central banks across the world, right? It doesn't matter. Most central banks across the world, most governments and economies around the world prefer a bit of inflation in their economy, right? So you like, for example, your salary, you want your salary to increase over time, right? You cannot be, you want your salary to go down, right? So same thing, and this effect happens not only to salaries but to anything, right? And the example I want to give here is actually a bowl of noodles, right? If you remember, right, back in the old days, you may have heard this story. Of course, this applies in Singapore as well. You know, a bowl of noodles could be 1 ringgit 30, 40 years ago, right? You may have heard your parents tell you such thing, right? Oh, your grandparents tell such thing. You know, last time I can buy a bowl of noodle for 50 cents. 50 cents, I can buy a whole packet of mee, right? And things like that. Of course, today, that's not possible, right? You want to buy noodles or mee soup or whatever, right? It's going to be easily, in Malaysia, it's 5, 6 ringgit at least, right? Singapore also $3, $4 and probably more, right? And it is likely that these prices will go up, right, over time. Unlikely they will go down, and because this, and so this is basically inflation, right? Inflation is what we call inflation, and inflation is caused by input costs increase, right? So the price of the egg go up, so it affects the price of the noodle and so on and so forth, right? And this effect also applies to real estate, applies to property. So for property, okay, the same thing happens, right? You have probably heard, you know, or last time I buy an apartment for only 100,000, now it's about 400,000, right? Same thing, right? So inflation also applies to property, which is why you want to start young, because you want to maximize the effect of inflation on your property. If you start too late, right, to buy property, then you are lowering the amount of time available for inflation to take effect on your property. Okay, so you want appreciation to start early, okay, early, to make make more price increase, more appreciation over your property as well. So this is why you need to start young. Okay, so this is reason number one. Reason number two is basically banks right now. Most banks in Malaysia or Singapore generally lend to consumers, right, or borrowers, right, around 30 to 35-year loans, right. I think in Singapore it's 30, right, but in Malaysia you can get up to 35, sometimes 40-year loan, right, and the age which they capped it is at 65 to 70, right. So if you want to maximize a loan tenure, you probably have to start buying a property not older than 35 years old, right, ideally 30 years old or below, right, or 35 years maximum, so that you can get the maximum bank tenure from the loans. Why you need the maximum bank tenure? Number one, you want to have a lower monthly repayment, right? The longer the tenure, the lower the monthly repayment, right? Because the longer time you have more time to repay, right? So you don't have to pay so much every month. And of course, this is important because as a young person, your cash flow is important, right? You don't want to be overstretched with your monthly commitment. So you want to lower this and have maximum loan tenure, right? Everybody, generally most people who take mortgage from bank, you want maximum tenure. So the younger, the easier to get longer tenure. Once you get older, right, and then you have, if you enter your 40s or that, your loan tenure will probably drop in your 20-something over years, and your installment will be markedly higher, which is more difficult, right? So again, younger people have this advantage. Okay, second reason why you need to start young. Okay, and to go about that, the next thing I need to talk about is inflation, right? And I'm going to use the example of Malaysia house prices here, right? So if you look at Malaysia house prices, right, and this chart which I have here is a pretty long chart, right, since the 1990s, okay? And you can see that property prices go up and go down, right? But on average, they go up about 4 to 5% per annum per year on average, right? So over the past 30, 40 years, right, you can see that property prices in Malaysia have gone up roughly 4 to 5% per annum on average, okay? And this is it, and this is the key thing, right? So prices go up, go down, but on average they go up 4 to 5% per annum. So if I give you examples of the go up, go down cycles, right, the worst crisis that happened in Malaysia was probably the 1997 Asian financial crisis, right? Of course, now we are in the COVID period. Wow, can anything be worse than COVID? COVID is probably the worst economic crisis in Malaysia since the 97 Asian crisis. And you can see here, actually, COVID is over here, right? And it is 97, right? But 97 was pretty bad, right? For those of you who were around that time, I was in school actually, so I don't really remember much. But for businessmen, those period, it was a bad time. A lot of people went bankrupt. A lot of prices collapsed, right? And this was a pretty bad time for Southeast Asia, right? So, but prices went down. But after that, they do go back up and go back up a lot. Okay, you can see prices rebound heavily after a crisis, right? And again, the next downturn was the 2001.com bust. Okay, for Malaysia, that wasn't really much of an issue, but prices recover after that. And you go down again, there was a big boom period, right? Roughly 2007, 2009. I started buying property in 2007, so I made a lot of money during this period, where very consistent price increase, right? And then of course there was the subprime financial crisis that hit US very bad, but actually again in Asia that wasn't much of an impact. So you see this period also, you can see prices were pretty stable, nothing much, right? And there was a big boom again during the 2010 to 2013 period, where prices were like averaging, 7, 8, 10% per annum. Big increases in prices, in property prices during that period, right? So and then of course it started cycling down again all the way, and with a very long downturn, right, all the way until the COVID-19 pandemic where we are today. So it is very likely that after this COVID-19 pandemic, prices will go up again, because as far as we can tell, whenever prices go down, they will always come back up, right? And we are probably very much at the bottom already, because you can see we had some quarters of negative growth, right, in the past year, right? And very likely that now the economies are reopening, in not only Malaysia, Singapore, but across the rest of the world, right? You will see property prices recover, right? And so in a way, that is a signal that it is a good time to buy, because you always buy when prices are very bad. There's blood on the street like now, okay? and you don't want, and you only sell when prices are good, right? Unfortunately, I talked about these other videos. People tend to do the reverse. They only buy when prices are high and sell when prices are low, which is the wrong way. But unfortunately, many people don't understand this or cannot avoid it, or still get caught in the herd mentality and psychologically are not prepared, and they always do the wrong thing. But correct time to buy is when it's low and sell when it is high. That should be the right way to do it. But I mean, like all things, that is how it is. Okay, so move on. Okay, next slide. So the next thing I want to talk about is 3 mistakes that most people make, especially young people, right, when they try to buy property, right? So let me try and show you what these 3 mistakes are and how you can avoid it. So mistake number 1, trying to buy the ideal house too early. So what is the ideal house, right? In Malaysia, the typical ideal house is a landed property, right? Big space, a lot of rooms, right? Good location, nice modern design, right? This is what most young people want, right? This as they say, hey, I want to buy a landed house, terrace, and they feel that this is an ideal home, a reasonable home to start off with, and they try to buy this. And in Malaysia, a typical terrace house today, new one will probably be in the range of 700,000 ringgit. Plus minus, right? Sometimes higher, sometimes lower, depending on location, right? But the problem is that when you are a young person, it is very unlikely you can afford to buy this 700,000 ringgit property immediately, right? Very unlikely. So, in many cases, right? You can't buy this immediately, right? And you need to that's why they come out with things like, oh, the property is expensive, right? I cannot afford, because what they're trying to do here is they're trying to buy the ideal property too early, right? And they find that, hey, this is expensive, okay? So, and young people can afford, okay, trying to buy this type of property, right? So what is the solution? I will talk about it later. So this is mistake number 1, trying to buy the ideal house too early. Mistake number 2, right? They don't prepare themselves for the bank loan. Now, how do you prepare yourself for the bank loan? In Malaysia, we have something called CCRIS, right? CCRIS is actually the Bank Negara, the central bank database, where they track your repayment record. Okay, so what you want to do is to have a good CCRIS report. Now, how do you have a good CCRIS report when you are young, right? You say, hey, I just started working, I got no repayment history. How do I make this look good? Okay, so what you do is you apply a credit card. Okay, any bank, doesn't really matter. Any bank, take a credit card, right? And most banks should give you a credit card quite easily. Okay, you don't need a high limit. It can be 3,000 limit, 5,000 limit. It doesn't, 10,000 limit. It doesn't matter. Just get a credit card and use this credit card to pay for household essentials like petrol, telephone bill, grocery, your TNB bill, or your electricity bill, right? Small payments here and there, which you sure use every month, and you sure have to pay one. Okay, so pay this every month, do this for 6 months or longer, right? And you will show to the banks that actually you are a good paymaster. Okay, so don't let, I know some people demonize the credit card, right? Oh, credit card bad, very bad debt, right? 18%, all this thing. But if you pay your credit card on time every month, you don't pay any interest, right? Actually, so in a way, the bank is giving you free money, free money for 30 days, the credit card, right? 30 days period, my credit card. So free money for 30 days. So you must take advantage of this free 30 days, right? And pay out the bills every month, right? And you are going to pay for stuff which you use anyway, right? You cannot run away. So pay these bills every month, and you will show to the banks that you have a good repayment record. This will help you get your property loan later, your real estate, your mortgage loan later, because you show to banks that you have a good credit history. Okay, so of course, if you take credit card, you must pay. You don't pay, then of course you don't deserve to buy property. If you can't even pay this credit card, then you don't deserve to buy property in the first place. Okay, but this is a tip, right? How to make your CCRIS report look good. All right, go and get a credit card. Okay, and pay every month, right? Not a lot, never mind. Even the balances are small, 100 ringgit, 200 ringgit, also pay every month. Just use it just to show that you have a good pattern of repayment. Okay, mistake number 2, and how to solve it. So mistake number 3 is don't know how to use EPF. Now, EPF is a Employee Provident Fund, or KWSP in Malay. So how to use the KWSP, right? When you start working, okay, you have to pay KWSP. Most people with a salary, I think about 3,000 ringgit and above, you will have to pay EPF already, right? So this sum of your money will get paid into EPF, and not only what from your salary, the employer also have to contribute Your company also has to attribute. So actually your EPF amount that goes in every month is not small. It's quite a significant sum, right? I won't say a lot or little, depends on your salary, right? But I mean, it's a good chunk of money in proportion to your salary. So, and you can use from this EPF, right? EPF will put the money in a few accounts. You have an account called account 2, right? So some part of this EPF contribution you can take out to buy house. And what you can do, 2 things you can use to pay for your down payment. Okay, your down payment for the house. Number 2 is you use it for monthly repayment. Okay, but let's forget about monthly repayment first. Let's talk about down payment. Okay, so how much can you take out? You can only take out from EPF account 2, right? And basically you can take out your purchase price, how much you buy the property for, minus your loan amount, plus another 10%. So actually you can take out more than your 10% down payment. Okay, you can take out in this theory, in theory up to 20% of your purchase price. And why does KWSP or EPF let you take out so much? Because they assume you need to pay for stamp duty or pay for renovation, or pay for legal fees, that kind of thing, right? So they will allow you to take out an additional 10% actually. Okay, so this can be used for your down payment. A lot of people tell me, hey Ryan, I don't have enough money. I may not have enough money for my down payment. I mean, what can I do? So take EPF, right? You're already working, you should have some EPF. If you're working for a few years, your EPF should have some money. Even if it doesn't cover your entire down payment, you can use it for some of your down payment. Okay, and of course, if you're buying joint name, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, you can use both people name. Even more, so 2 people EPF account. I think that is more than enough in most cases to buy or pay the 10% down payment for a property. So go check it out, right? If you're not sure how much is in your EPF account too, go to EPF, any office, register for the online registration and things like that, or get a statement, right? And find out how much money you have in your EPF account, right? And this will resolve one of the other issue, which is having down payment to buy house. Okay, so next topic. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is back to the solution earlier, right? If I want to buy a dream house, how to solve this? I cannot afford, right? Dream house. So I want to talk about this concept about how many times in life do you feel the need to buy house? Some people treat buy house as if a one-off thing. Buy one time and that's it. I buy this house, I stay this house until I die, right? But actually, in practice, very few people actually do that. Okay, very few people. I mean, I'm not saying don't have, but very few people need to do that. But when you ask yourself, when do you need to buy house? Normally, the first time you need to feel when you need to buy house is when you start working. Okay, you got a job, you got salary. You say, hey, I got a job, I got salary now, I got some income. Maybe I should buy house. Okay, this is the first time you will have this. You feel the need. Maybe I need to buy house. Second time is when you start a relationship. You got boyfriend, girlfriend, right? You think, hey, I got a person here, husband, wife, right? You just get married, you say, hey, I need to buy a house. Now I got married earlier, maybe I need to buy a house. The third is when you start a family. You got kids. Hey, I got kids. I got baby now. I think maybe I need to have a room for my baby. I need to upgrade house for my baby, right? I cannot rent. I need to buy, right? I need to start planning for my family. Or if your family gets bigger, I got 2 kids, 3 kids, right? You say, oh, I need more rooms now. My house needs to be bigger, right? Or if you buy your dream property, right? It could be a bungalow, it could be some property in your hometown where you want to retire or a retirement home or holiday home. Right? See, I want to buy this house. I mean, I reach the age, 40 years old, 50 years old, where I think I want to get a property which I really enjoy, right? So a dream property. It could be you're buying investment property, right? Second property, third property for investment, either for rental or for capital appreciation. Hey, I want to buy this house. I think can make money, right? Or you're buying property for your parents. That happens. Your parents need to upgrade, downgrade at their older age. Or you're buying property for kids. Also happens very well, right? Very commonly, right? So actually, if you think about it, as a person in your lifetime, buying property is not a one-time thing. A lot of people buy property multiple times in their life. Multiple times. A lot of people live in different properties in different times of life. You think about it, you ask yourself, did you really stay in the same house all the way from your baby until today? Unlikely. You would have stayed in many different houses. In many cases, most people stay in 2, 3, perhaps even more houses from the day they were born until today. So I myself, right, I've stayed many. I can't even I can't even count how many houses I stayed in before. So what I'm trying to say is, you will live in many different houses in your life. So actually, from a property purchase perspective, it's very difficult to buy your dream property immediately. So my suggestion is buy small, start small and upgrade. Start small and upgrade. It's okay to buy what you can afford, right? And thereafter you upgrade. Okay, thereafter you upgrade. So in the case here, right, I'm using this example from a property called Bayu Angkasa, right? Because this property is by UEM Sunrise, right? And UEM Sunrise is in Johor, right? I'm using an apartment in Johor because this presentation actually did partially with in cooperation with UEM Sunrise. So let's say you use an apartment like Bayu Angkasa, you can afford only a 400,000 apartment called Bayu Angkasa, right? And in many cases, 400,000 you cannot buy landed property. Right, in JB, in KL, in Penang, right, 400,000 very difficult to buy a decent landed property. Okay, so you can only afford apartment in most cases. So let's say I buy a 400,000 apartment like Bayu Angkasa, right, and then in this case I can get a 90% loan if I'm a first-time house buyer. So I have a 10% down payment and my installment every month is 1670. Okay, so using this case study as an example, and as I mentioned earlier, you can use your EPF to try and cover that 10% down payment. Okay, so if you stay in this Bayu Angkasa property, which is what you can afford in the beginning of your career, right, and you stay in this Bayu Angkasa property for 5 years, okay, and then you will see that after 5 years, actually your Bayu Angkasa apartment, if you assume 3% appreciation a year, would have appreciated to 510,000, right, in 5 years. Okay, so 5 years is a long time, right? Enough time for you to stay in an apartment, get used to it, let the property appreciate. And in this case, you let inflation work for you, right? Not against you, work for you, right? So if I'm only using 3%, yeah, because even though Malaysia averages 4-5% a year, but let's be conservative, right? Let's say only 3%. Okay, so 3% a year, apartment appreciates to 510,000, right? And in this case, right, if you sell your apartment, this Bayu Angkasa apartment, right, in after this 5-year period, you will have a cash in hand of 159,000. Okay, where do you get this 159,000? You get, because there's a 70,000 profit, right? You get back your down payment, and also you have repaid your loan over 5 years. When you repay your loan over 5 years, your principal go down, your outstanding balance in your loan go down. So when you pay and you sell this house and pay off the loan, actually you also have some money back from there because of your repaid principal. So in hand, you have 159,000. Okay, and what can you do 159,000? Right, plus your savings. I assume that you have saved some money over 5 years, and you don't have to pay rental because you stay in this house for 5 years. Okay, and you may have salary increment, right? It is very likely with this 159,000, you can buy your next property. It could be your dream property, it may not, right? But at least you can buy the next property. Now, 159,000, assuming it's a 10% down payment, you can buy up to 1.5 million ringgit property for your next property. Okay, but let's say you don't pay 1.5 million for the next property, you want to buy a 1 million ringgit property. I think it's also pretty fair. 1 million ringgit property, I think is a lot. You can buy you will have a lot more choices, what I'm saying, 5 years from now. So what I'm trying to say is, it's okay to start small, okay, let the property appreciate, and then let inflation work into the property, then sell and upgrade to your next property. A lot of people done that. My own family did that, right? And I think a lot of people, this advice that I want to give to you guys as well, for especially if you're young, right? Start small and upgrade. Okay, and in this case, Bayu Angkasa, in fact, even UEM Sunrise today is giving up a package where they have 3 years bank installment absorbed by the developer. So that's even more savings, right? So if you're interested, you can come and find out more from me about this later, and I will share with you how does that work from UEM Sunrise, right? But yeah, okay. Next, so summary of this video. Okay. Of what I'm trying to say in this video, right? Buy as good a property as you can, right? Good property. Of course, you still want to buy good property. Don't buy lousy property. Buy lousy property, then your appreciation may be lower, right? Buy good property, your appreciation may be better, average or better, right? So buy as good a property as you can, as young as you can, right? At the budget that you can, right? If you can afford 400,000, it's fine. Get onto the ladder rather than you wait, because is when you let inflation work on you, you must understand your inflation price go up over time. Your inflation is on a 400,000 property. People will say, hey, Ryan, I want to wait until my salary higher, then only buy house. Okay, but your salary how much? 3,000, 4,000. Hey, if your salary increase 3% every year versus the property 400,000 increase 3% every year. Can you imagine 3% on 400,000 or 3% on your salary? Which one is more? Sure, on the property is more, right? Because the property is a big asset, right? So you need to let the big asset appreciate, because definitely a big asset value will appreciate more than your salary. Okay, that's what I mean by let the inflation work on the asset. Okay, so at the budget you can. So don't wait until you can afford to buy 700,000 terrace house. By the time you can afford, for all you know, the property also will not be 7,000, because the property also has been appreciating during that period where your salary increase. Okay, so buy as good a property as you can, as young as you can, at the budget that you can, then upgrade every 5 to 10 years. Right, 5 to 10 years depends on you, right? Depends on your life situation, right? Whether you have family, you have needs, right, or not. Your salary could be your savings, or whether the property price has increased enough for you, or depend what you want to buy in the next round. So I upgrade every 5 to 10 years. Let inflation work for you. It's okay to start small and upgrade. Great. Don't try to buy your dream property immediately. Okay, I repeat. Don't try to buy your dream property immediately when you are young. It is probably too expensive for you. Right, it doesn't matter where you live. I think in most major cities, KL, JB, Penang, or big cities, right, it is unlikely you can afford your dream property immediately. I mean, if you can, good, all the better. But I'm saying that for a lot of people, if you cannot, it's okay to start small and upgrade over time. Okay, so that is it for my presentation today. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and you find it useful. If you do enjoy my video today, do find out more about, do like and subscribe and share this video, right? And you can also join our Facebook group, Malaysian Investors in Singapore, right, on Facebook, where you are free to ask a lot of questions. Or you can drop me an email at contact@alphamarketing.sg.com, or my phone numbers below, right? And thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you. Bye-bye.